From the northern shores and woodlands to the west, it's history. From copper mines and iron ore, the Great Lakes fishery, to the farmlands of the southern counties and east to Chesapeake Bay. Look at all that waits the sportsman across the USA. And sometimes when the moon brings out the diamonds and the snow, the stillness of the forest is encased in Arctic cold. The wind might whisper through the trees, listen to it say the beauty of our great outdoors across the USA.
This is my deer hunting rifle. This is a special rifle. You can buy ones like it off the shelf, but the nice thing about this for me is that I made this gun. I went into the Savage factory and they showed me step by step how to put it together, which I did. I'm going to share that with you in a few moments. We have a story on snowy owls, interesting critter in the outdoors, sporting dogs, the advantages of different dogs, a great venison make-ahead spaghetti recipe, and a lot more. So you stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost. It's time for the Outdoor Digest. Weekly telecast of Outdoor Digest is made possible through the cooperation of this and other public television stations nationwide. Weekly production of the Outdoor Digest television show is a function of Fred Trost's Outdoors Club, promoting public understanding of hunting and fishing, appreciation of wildlife, and enjoyment of our great outdoors. Bow season is much longer than firearm deer season in most states. Hunters have many weeks to figure out how to get close to bucks like this with a bow, but firearm deer season in most northern states is comparatively short. Most bucks are taken on opening day, and to be successful, a hunter has to have an accurate firearm. A number of sporting arms companies make a variety of deer rifles at a variety of prices, and competition in the marketplace has been tough over the years. The Savage Arms Company, named after Arthur Savage, has been making guns since 1895, but in the 1980s ran into financial trouble. The new president, Ron Coburn, tells how they reorganized in 1989 to avoid bankruptcy.
1 week we went down to one product with 5 variations, so 5 total products. But we chose the product that we knew we could make, and if it couldn't stand the test and be profitable, we were going to go out of business. It was that simple. So it was a do or die. It was either going to stand alone in the market and be accepted and sell through and make us a profit, or we simply weren't meant to be in business because our name wasn't strong enough, our product wasn't competitive enough. But it did take that test.
Coburn's overnight reorganization cut back Savage's employees from 300 to 100, and they made one gun and made it well. This gun, the Model 110 bolt action, starts as a 12-foot heavy industrial steel rod. For 2 days, I worked at the Savage factory in Westfield, Massachusetts, and made my own Model 110 from scratch. I first cut a 22-inch piece of rod for the barrel and a 9.5-inch piece, which will become the receiver. I carried these 2 pieces through all the processes so I could learn how a gun was made. Most of the first day I spent on the receiver, going from machine to machine, where I actually set it up and performed the operation. There are many machine shop terms they told me I was doing as I moved from station to station: turning, centerless grinding, disc grinding, power milling, butt milling, drilling and tapping, fin file, shave, and hob. These aren't things that I do from day to day. I was constantly splattered with oil and machine shop liquids, but it was a real experience to watch the changes to what began as a 9.5-inch steel rod and soon began looking like a rifle receiver. In fact, they gave me a rifle bolt to slip in at this stage. I was getting there. That bolt fit. Out of 9 available calibers, I chose the .308 to make, a good all-around big game caliber. So while these processes are done to all receivers, no matter what the caliber, the inside drilling of the barrel and chamber would be set up for the .308 cartridge. Now that last process there took off a big chunk of steel, opening up the top of the receiver for loading and ejecting cartridges. At this stage, we pick up the pace with a Kuraki, a computerized Japanese machine that can be programmed to do a number of operations automatically in sequence, such as drilling and tapping different holes for scope mounts. After several more hours of machining with a number of other processes, my receiver is ready for induction heat treating. These coils are cold right now. I set my receiver inside, push a button, and within seconds, that cold steel becomes red hot. This is called induction hardening and has to be done on the receiver because it's a moving part that takes a lot of stress with constant loading and unloading. After a few minutes, the red-hot steel is cooled down, the receiver is ready to take the punishment of racking thousands of rounds of cartridges. Now for the barrel, like I mentioned, this is a 2-day process I went through, reaming and swaging the barrel, burnish reaming, rough turning, chamfering, grinding. A barrel might look like a simple thing, but it has to be machined to exact tolerances, down to thousandths of an inch. And it has to be done by skilled workers who, fortunately, were guiding me through each step. George Avery has an important job that, well, I never really did catch on to it. He looks through every barrel that comes down the line, and he can tell by the grooves if the barrel is straight. If it's the slightest bit off, he gives it a bend in exactly the right spot. Now, this is what he sees. Now, I can't tell if it's straight or not, but George can, and he makes sure every barrel is. He does this twice on every barrel at 2 different stages as the gun moves down the line. Now for the reaming of the bore for the 308 cartridge. Each of these steps has to be done carefully. Tolerances are exact for circumferences and head space. There can't be any scratches or aberrations in the chamber. And this step here with the cotton, well, this isn't done on every rifle, but since I did the machining myself, they wanted to double check the inside of the chamber. This is a fast-drying polyester liquid that makes a casting of the chamber and the first inch or two of the rifling in the barrel. They wanted to make sure that when I withdrew the reamers and did the processes for the chamber that I didn't bump anything or make any scratches. If I did, it would show up on the casting. So this was the moment of truth. Looks perfect. This barrel should be extraordinarily accurate. And now for the bluing. The process of bluing gun barrels and receivers is actually a controlled high-speed rusting process, which etches the barrels with hot chemical baths, turns them blue, and when you oil the gun, the oil soaks into the pits and pores caused by the bluing, and that protects your barrel from harmful rust. But bluing is actually a rusting process itself. I screw the barrel into the receiver, and now I have the main frame for my rifle built. From here, the assembly begins.
Oh, yeah. I'll see if it snaps down. All right.
It's looking good, like a gun. All these smaller parts are machined separately, the triggers, the firing pins, and each part has to be added to the barrel and the receiver. The quality of each of these parts is important because they're what fire the gun. When Savage reorganized, they upgraded the quality of all of these parts. All the guns that come off the line are set for a trigger pull of about 4.5 pounds, and that's where mine was set, just a little over 4. And now for a stock. Now the stock doesn't really affect accuracy in a rifle, it just holds the barrel in the action so you can aim it. But I wanted a cool looking stock, so I picked the brown laminate. I don't have any gun stocks like this, and I like the looks, which is part of the fun of owning a gun. Savage doesn't make a gun for looks though, because that's what adds to the price. The Model 110 sells for between $300 and $400. It's highly accurate, but not fancy. As we near the end of the process, the gun is checked and test fired. Technicians give each gun a thorough safety inspection, make sure the parts are all working as they should be. In the 1990s, a firearm manufacturer has to be extremely concerned with safety, what with the laws and lawsuits on product liability. Savage has a remarkable record with very few complaints. It's due to their careful manufacturing, their high-quality materials, and checking and double-checking each gun for flaws or weaknesses. The bolt here won't close on this slightly oversized cartridge, and it shouldn't. Now 3 cartridges are loaded in the magazine. The safety is checked. Make sure it won't fire until the safety is flipped off. Each gun is checked with a proof load as a stress test, and my gun is going to be put through a quick sighting in. The Savage Model 110 on bench tests has outshot some of the more expensive, prestigious rifles. Seikos and Weatherbys cost more, but these working man Savages hold smaller groups at greater distances as tested by several leading gun magazines. The gun I made really wasn't any better than the others that come off the line in Westfield, Massachusetts, but I like it. I like the way it looks, it's accurate, but you know, it won't cure one deer hunting problem. That's buck fever. You'll have to cure that one yourself. Well, this is the gun. Doesn't it look cool? I mean, to me it does. I like this laminated stock. I always like that it's called a Monte Carlo stock on the end. It has a little notch out of it. It's something that I always enjoyed looking at when I saw guns, because my guns were never, the wood wasn't like this, wasn't shaped like this, and I know it doesn't really make a difference in the accuracy, but I enjoy it. Now, a scope. I did put a scope on this. Rifle scopes, very important when you get to be my age and up with your vision, because you have trouble focusing on the rear sight and the front sight. A scope makes a lot of difference, especially to older hunters, in their accuracy. Guns are a lot of fun, and we like to maintain a lot of information about the shooting sports here on Outdoor Digest. But I'm going to take you back right now to a story we did when we began this show on Michigan Outdoors. 10 years ago, we had a subject, a snowy owl. Take a look at this.
This is a snowy owl, sometimes called an Arctic owl, and a frequent visitor to Michigan in the wintertime.
But they don't live here during the summer, do they?
Oh, no. These birds live really year-round in the Arctic area, in the Arctic Circle, in the tundra area of Canada. But when their food supply runs short, they move south.
To keep warmer and to find more food. Well, let's talk about the snowy owl that we had here at Michigan State University on top of this building right here where we do the program, where WKAR is located. This snowy owl was here, it still is around campus, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
This was shot about a month or 6 weeks ago. What is it that a snowy owl finds to eat down here?
Well, a little bit of everything. It'll take ground squirrels, chipmunks, tree squirrels, a pheasant or a grouse if it can pick one off, any small bird or mammal that it's capable of taking.
Now, this owl is eating right in the middle of the day.
Yes.
I thought owls were nocturnal, nighttime creatures.
Well, the owls that we're familiar with in Michigan are, but remember, this snowy owl lives in a region where for 6 months of the time it's daylight, close to 24 hours or 24 hours a day. So it has to be able to hunt both in the day and in the night. And so it can hunt during the daytime. It's quite a proficient diurnal hunter, a daytime hunter.
You know, you would think that an owl like this that comes down from Alaska or somewhere in the far northern lands wouldn't want to be around people.
Well, it doesn't recognize people. Remember, this is from the far north, and I don't think it realizes what people are or realizes the danger that people can pose for a wild animal.
That is amazing. So they'll fly around during the day?
Yes, hunt during the day.
How many of them would be in Michigan right now?
Oh, that's hard to say, maybe a couple of hundred. But you see, this will vary. A few each year drift south for reasons I'm not really sure anyone knows. But then when lemming populations decline very precipitously, very quickly as they do in the north, then literally hundreds will come south, from anywhere from Michigan to as far south as Texas.
So these snowy owls eat lemmings?
Yes,
in the
that's
Arctic?
their prime food in the Arctic, yes. The
So
lemmings.
they come down here to Michigan. This is a warm vacation for them, a place to find a lot of food. And we have a lot of other birds that go south because they've run out of food.
Right, this is south for a lot of birds, and Arctic owl being one of them.
Does the Arctic owl have any dangers?
Well, yes. Remember, it's in a strange environment, and most of them that drift south probably don't make it back north because other predatory birds will occasionally kill these snowy owls, such as a red-tailed hawk or a fox. Remember, they sit on the ground because they live in a treeless region.
Do you think that the owl right there perched by Spartan Stadium is maybe waiting for a wolverine?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wow.
As a Spartan.
Don't want to get too political here. But these owls, you say, might be taken by a red-tailed hawk? That
Sure,
is
remember,
incredible.
this white owl sitting on a grassy hummock in the middle of a field would be a prime target for a rough-legged hawk or a red-tailed hawk here in the
I didn't know
wintertime of
that those
Michigan.
predatory birds ate each other.
Sure, some owls eat other owls. It's not uncommon for a great horned owl, the big hoot owl of Michigan, to take the little tiny screech owl from time to time.
Hey, the more you learn about wildlife, they look so pretty and look so cute, all of these animals, but it's a dog-eat-dog, owl-eat-owl world out
Sure.
there.
The feet of a snowy owl. Boy, look at these talons they have. They're a real predator, very efficient at catching a lot of small critters, which is what they feed on. They're covered with feathers. They blend in perfectly with the snow, but what beautiful creatures they are. The snowy owl, a protected species throughout the country. Gorgeous. People don't have them for pets, but they're sure great to admire in the wild. But some creatures that you do have for pets, man's best friend in the hunting world. What could be better than a hunting dog? Which breed is best? Hey, I don't know, but let's take a look at them. Hunting with good friends makes a perfect day, especially a friend that will jump out of the boat when you're duck hunting and retrieve your ducks.
Good dog. Jackie, good dog.
It's man's best friend in the rain or by the fire, in the yard and in the field. A good hunting dog has no match. Most hunting breeds instinctively hunt and point or retrieve, but rarely will a hunting dog of any kind become a polished bird dog on its own. Behind every good bird dog's performance is usually hours and hours of patient training before the season. At our outdoor fair in June at Houghton Lake, training bird dogs was a major attraction.
Misty Mark.
Cindy Malski sends a young Labrador retriever on a rudimentary exercise of fetching a dummy on command. This young pup is excited. You can see the playful attitude, but retrieving comes naturally to Labradors. What doesn't come naturally is bringing the dummy back to the handler, sitting down, and giving the bird to the handler. This skill is just obedience training. But we want to combine the natural instincts and love of running and hunting and retrieving with some basic learned behaviors that give the hunter control of the dog. Then both the hunter and the dog have a much happier time in the field. The goal with an advanced retriever is to take even another step, teach it to follow hand signals. This is Sharon Fowler of Sunflight Kennels. Now she wants him to come closer.
Over.
At times, this discipline overrides the dog's instincts, but it gives the handler better control when several ducks need to be retrieved. It doesn't take long hours, just frequent time every day working with a retriever to develop this kind of teamwork. Pointing dogs require training too, not to hunt, because they're usually full of that instinct. They range and scent game according to the abilities God gave them, and most pointers freeze instinctively when they come upon the strong scent of a game bird close by. But how long will they hold point? Are they staunch? Are they stylish? Will they break point if the bird flushes? Many hunters own good working dogs that get the job done, and they'll retrieve. Field trial obedience isn't required. But as the crowd saw at the outdoor fair, even English pointers can be refined. Experienced trainer Jerry Dealey works with his dogs to develop their style. He actually works with them on point. Can you believe that his dogs will let him move them and still hold point the whole time? Jerry trains his dogs to hold point and to be stylish when they're on point by working with them when they're very young in a novel way. He stands them on a board, clips their collar to a wire. This holds their head up. He handles the dogs a lot, talks to them, gives them a lot of praise, but physically moves them and holds them in the positions he wants when they're on point. The dogs enjoy it. All dogs like attention, and they like to please their owners. You'd be surprised how much an intelligent and cooperative dog can learn from a handler. Jerry Dealey teaches his dogs style and grace that set them apart from the rest. But not every hunter wants such a polished dog. Dan McClellan owns a brace of Weimaraners, which aren't trained quite as extensively, but get along great with the family. Why Weimaraners?
Weimaraner. It's a continental breed that was brought over from Germany in the early 1900s. That was basically a big game hunting animal. They hunted stag for 'em, wild boar, and they were converted into bird dogs. And they hunt close, they point, they retrieve. They're good, versatile hunting dogs for the on-foot hunter.
But I know there's a problem with the show dogs versus the field dogs. You know, the show dogs are kind of funny in temperament and ability.
Yeah, well, in a lot of the continental breeds, what we see is a splitting of the breed. We see the show people that are breeding for conformation, and I don't knock them at all because they're trying to improve the breed, and I think they do a heck of a job. But what field trial people and hunting people have to keep in mind is there's two things to breed for, and that's pointing instinct and desire for the dog to find birds. And you need to breed the best of the best in pointing and desire in order to get the best. And in Weimaraners, we have several lines in this country that are excellent bird dog, shooting dog lines. And then you have the others.
Why aren't they more popular, though? They can be if they're bred right, so why aren't they more of them bred right?
Well, I think that you have a couple other breeds, the German Shorthairs, the Brittany's, the English Setters, the English Pointers, that when a lot of people get started into hunting, into field trialing, they look to more popular breeds. But my own experience is I have seen some Weimaraners do some real nice retrieving work, real nice bird work, real nice pointing work, and they're a dog that you can live with in your home, that it's good with the children. They're very protective, they're very biddable. For the all-around dog, I don't think you can beat them. They're not the best pointing dog, they're not the best retrieving dog, but all in all, as a versatile hunting dog and a pet and a member of the family and companion, they're excellent.
I get the feeling that whatever breed Dan owned, he'd love them. And that's the way it is with hunting dogs. We like to look at them. We like to hunt with them. They're the best buddy a hunter could have.
Good boy. Good boy.
Candy Livka sent us a perfect spaghetti recipe. And we're going to use ground venison, but she said you could use ground turkey, and I think for this recipe it would be ideal. Yes, a wild turkey would be great in this.
Oh, you ever had any of those turkey dogs and that stuff?
That wild turkey would be different. Yes.
No,
Yes.
venison all the way.
You're going to go ahead and brown the venison, and then use regular spaghetti sauce. And the longer that this will cook, the better the spaghetti dish will be.
Well, yeah, spaghetti sauce looks good already.
Yes, yep. Then going to make a cheese sauce. It has cottage cheese, sour cream, cream cheese, and the green onions. Right.
That'd be a great dip.
Yep, it's very good.
Along with the spaghetti. But
And
you
then
say you put it in?
Right, you're going to cook the spaghetti. You don't want to cook it thoroughly, just until it's just about done. And then add all of the cheese sauce on top, and then put the rest of the spaghetti on top of that.
Well, this is sort of like a lasagna.
Exactly, that's what it's going to come out to be, just about, yep. And then add the rest of the spaghetti, and then drizzle just melted butter over the top of that.
Ooh.
Yep, and then you're going to add the meat sauce. And then everything goes into the refrigerator for about 24 hours. The longer it sits in the refrigerator, the better it's going to be, because the flavor will just blend all the way through this.
This looks incredibly tasty.
It's very good. And then just add grated cheese to the top, and it goes into the oven.
If I recall, Kath, on this recipe, you and Bob Garner did all the talking,
Yes.
and I got down to business.
You did.
It was great.
About 15 more forkfuls, and I can give you a good, adequate review.
Give us a synopsis.
Hey, I ate to quit eating.
Oh,
To
this
tell you
is
what this
excellent.
recipe tastes like. And in the fact, you can really make this stuff up ahead?
Yep. In fact, it's better because all the flavors will go all the way through it.
Well, I'd say spaghetti, you know, I like spaghetti anyway, but this is more like a lasagna,
Right.
like a baked lasagna or whatever.
The cheese in the middle.
Absolutely delicious, and the cheese that's in it is just absolute perfection. This is wonderful.
I think it's one of the best spaghetti recipes we've had.
Oh, Fred didn't say a word.
It's letting us do the talking.
It's all elbows, as a matter of fact. Over
What's to say?
Oh man, imagine this at deer camp.
Oh,
Could you go through pounds and pounds of this stuff at deer camp?
Maybe.
Well, one thing we, at least the fact of what the leftovers taste like will always be a mystery, I guess. One of the small mysteries in life.
I just can't think of anything to say.
Good, you could ease up just a little bit over there.
Well, this was quite a spectrum of activities here on Outdoor Digest. I hope you enjoyed them, and I hope for sure you can get outdoors this weekend. It's a great place to be. See you next week. Weekly telecast of Outdoor Digest is made possible through the cooperation of this and other public television stations nationwide. Weekly production of the Outdoor Digest television show is a function of Fred Trost's Outdoors Club, promoting public understanding of hunting and fishing, appreciation of wildlife, and enjoyment of our great outdoors.
He went first. Yeah, before I picked it up.